Hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of CEO Conversations, the private practice podcast. I am here doing audio only because I wanted to have an intimate conversation with you about the latest retreat that we just hosted. At the time of this recording, we are fresh off of our Grand Cayman retreat. There is, and I say that to take my time because really when I say Grand Cayman, it's Grand Cayman, flows off of my tongue. But I have an amazing client who is in Grand Cayman, and she corrected us the whole entire time. You would say it wrong. And I might, even as I'm saying this, I think I might still be saying it wrong. But this was our first international retreat. And, God always inspires me to do bigger things and stretches me. And it's just really fun to watch when you're obedient and you actually step fully into the vision that God is calling you to do, what happens on the other side of it. So a couple years ago, we hosted a retreat here in Charlotte, and it was a stretch for me. That was like the first bigger in-person retreat that I had hosted. And that was a stretching season for me. So it's interesting what happened with this one, because last year we did 3 retreats. We ended the year with our Own Your CEO Status retreat in LA. It was an amazing experience. And so at our celebration dinner, I told everybody, hey, we're going to go international. So there are clients that I work with internationally. I already talked to you about the client that I have in Grand Cayman, and I also have clients that are in Canada. I have clients who are in Hong Kong. So it's just really fun to watch. And even with all the workshops that we host and just seeing where people come from, London, so for Europe, and it's fun. It's fun to have a global community. So if you're listening to this and you're somewhere outside of the United States, then hello. I'm so happy to have you here. Welcome to CEO Conversations, the private practice podcast. I'm your host, Brandy Mabra. It's time to show up as a confident leader to create a practice and life you love. Okay, so retreat. Yeah, so we hosted an amazing retreat in LA, and from that, I was like, I want to go international. And we had kind of talked about it. So I have an amazing event coordinator that I work with. I could not do half of what I do without the team that I have, or God. So I want to make sure I give credit where credit's due. And before, in the airport, I was telling her, I said, I think I want to do international next year. I really do. And it was solidified because another of our clients who was there said the same thing. We need to do international. I would like to do international. And I was like, you know what? That's a confirmation. So we did international. So fast forward to this year. Planning this was interesting. So the whole point of this episode is just to give you some behind the scenes. If you are wanting to host a retreat, for your clients, or if you're wanting to build a community, then where you do in-person things, then I'm hoping that this episode will help you from that perspective. And then I'm also hoping that you'll be inspired because the visions that God has given you, the purpose that has been put on your life, when you're obedient and you actually get out of your own way and just trust the process and just have faith, I promise you, he's going to show up. He will show up. He will step in. He's going to make sure that you have everything that you need. It's going to not look how you thought it was going to look. It will actually be better. But the how, that how, I'm like, dang, God, I thought you were going to do it this way. Nope, just kidding. I'm going to do it this way. So if this is the purpose of the episode. So if this is on your heart and you're resonating with this, then maybe this is your sign. Whatever's sitting on your heart that you really want to do, that maybe you're kind of hesitant or you're not too sure, go ahead, take the leap of faith. I promise you, it'll be okay. It'll be okay. So, all right. So we decided to go international. And it was a stretch. And so a couple different things. Because this is my first international retreat, doing the communications from one country to another country, there were some things that came up with that just in regards to conversion. The retreat, everything had to be paid in US dollars. how money is exchanged, like all of that stuff came into play, contracts. There was more logistics that came with this than what I anticipated or that I was even anticipating. So it definitely had to be a faith walk. There were things actually in the contract because at this point in time, we've partnered with a lot of different hotels and we've gotten pretty savvy with contract negotiations when it comes to hotels and different things. And there was some language, I'll be honest, there was some language that we missed. And so for those of you who are clients inside of Private Practice CEO, here's some behind the scenes for you guys. There were some things in the contract that we missed when it came to accommodations. And so a lot of what happened, like a lot of the back and forth was just over this contract language about accommodations. And so more times than not, if you are doing a retreat at a hotel, then you want to make sure the lesson that I've learned, make sure that you are very clear on who is going to pay for accommodations, because there are two types. If you've maybe if you've had a wedding in a hotel, then I think, or some type of family reunion or whatever, anything with a hotel, there's usually blocks of rooms that you can reserve. And when you do blocks of rooms that are reserved, usually people get like a VIP rate, but behind the scenes is who is going to pay for these blocks that are unused. And so it falls on one or two people. Either the hotel will go ahead and take them back and put it in an inventory, no big deal, if no one books by a certain date, or the person who is hosting the event will take responsibility for any unbooked rooms. So we did this at the beautiful Kempton Seafire Resort, and it was gorgeous. I mean, so gorgeous. It was luxurious. It was such a vibe. So I'll get more into that. But they wanted me to pay for these accommodations for unused rooms. And so there was just like a lot of back and forth. And so as a small business owners, these retreats are not, I'll be honest, if you're wanting to host a retreat at a hotel, at a luxurious hotel, these retreats are not cheap to put on. And the way that I like to roll, my clients will tell you, we feed them well. We make sure that things are top notch. We do our best. We usually have teams of people who are helping us from the hotel. And I like that. I think that from my perspective, I want to make sure that every client that I work with, because the work that you do, it's hard work. You are changing people's lives, and healthcare is hard. So I want to make sure anytime that they're out of the office, anytime that they are with each other, anytime that they are being poured into, they feel that, right? And so I love being able to spoil them. I love being able to feed them well. I love being able to make sure that they feel nourished, just re-inspired. And so that way, when they go back to their practices and back to the world that they're in, they feel uplifted. They feel ready. They feel, excited. They feel re-energized. That's the whole point of why we do what we do. So trying to make sure that the contract was right, there is some budgetary, even from a business standpoint too. So I just want to tell you that if you are wanting to do like retreats, then make sure that you are paying attention to the contracts. This is a complete sidebar, but just making sure that you are paying attention to the contracts. So we finally got through all of that. And once we got through that, then everything was great and wonderful and fine. And so being on site with the Kempton, they were great, amazing, wonderful, all the things. But it stretched. It did. There was a lesson that I had to learn with that I otherwise hadn't learned yet. So I wanted to share that nugget of information. So that way, if you're going through it, then you pay attention to contracts. Once we got past that, amazing, fantastic. So let's actually go to the actual retreat part. So we decided when we were setting up for agenda that we wanted to make sure that our clients felt poured into and that they were able to relax. So the retreat officially was 2.5 days. And I went back and forth, like, do we want to do like a 5-day retreat, or what do we want to do? Like, I remember I did a business retreat. This was back in 2022. It was in Bora Bora, beautiful. And, over the water huts and all the things. And so one of the things, my passion, if you have not, is luxurious travel. And then it's a complete vibe for me when you do luxurious travel and you get educated with business and leadership and just complete vibe. So I was inspired in 2022 from that experience, and it was 5 days. And one of the things for me, that came up is it felt a little long to be there for 5 days. I did it solo travel. I missed my family. I wanted to come home. Things kind of started to become redundant. So when we picked this like the time frame, I was like, let's just do what's normal. So we usually end up with like a 2.5, 3 day retreat for this retreat. Every fall is our bigger retreat. We actually host at this point in time 4 retreats a year, but this is like our bigger retreat. So with the 3 days, we wanted to keep it light. We wanted to keep it simple. And it's interesting. So even when we're talking about stepping into the vision, what came up for me as we were designing the agenda was, this is not enough. They need more. They're going to be mad, because there's not like all of these speakers and all of these things. And that's what the enemy will do. That is what the enemy will do. Whenever you're stepping into something big, when you're stepping into something great, when you're trying to stretch yourself, right there is going to be like the little naysayer saying, nope, that's not enough. Nope, do something better. Nope, do something different. And so I'm happy that I listened to really my intuition and my gut, and I kept it simple because my goal is for them to get nourished, to learn some additional skill sets when it came to business leadership, and then to be able to enjoy the property. So I loved what everyone did. So for retreats, if you're thinking about going to a retreat, do it, because what you can do is a business write-off. It's a way for you to pour back into yourself. It's a way for you to really, you can take the family. So we had clients who brought their family, which I loved. They made it a whole family event, which is also why I'm happy that we picked the time frame that we did, because people traveled in days before and stayed days after, and they were still able to use this as a write-off because of the fact that they were there. The reason why they were there was because of this retreat. So it was so good. And I'm happy that we followed that. So the agenda, we kept it simple, and this is what they learned. And here is why. Healthcare is changing. You guys have heard me say this. Healthcare is changing. It is changing right before our eyes, and you have to be prepared for this. My stance on this is coming from a place of leadership. I think everybody has their little niche of what they're stepping into when it comes to this. And so some people are more AI focused. I bring in AI. I've talked about AI with our clients. I talk about AI, but you're not necessarily going to see me become the AI expert of healthcare. That's not my lane. My lane is more the business strategy of how do you navigate this with all the changes, and how do you lead with all of these changes? Because that's what's going to matter the most, is how are you taking these changes and making sure that the team that you've hired, or in some capacities, because what we're getting ready to experience, I believe this is just all of my thoughts, are layoffs that are getting ready to come because reimbursement is changing. Healthcare is changing. Packages is changing because of One Big Beautiful Bill. If you want to go back and listen to my thoughts on that, you can. There's episodes that are there. But it's important for you to be prepared. And if you are not prepared and you're just living in your bubble thinking like, oh, things are just going to be good. No, like you have to come from a stance of being prepared. So that's my job. My job is to make sure that our clients are being prepared for what is getting ready to come down the pike. So that way, of course, they can not be burned out. They can stay in business. They can make sure their profit is good and that they're leading at the highest level, right? They are leading from a place of excellence. They are not leading from a place of perfection, because there's no such thing as a perfect leader, but they are leading from a place of excellence. So when it comes to their practice, their teams are engaged. They feel comfortable. They are empowering their teams. They are showing up the way that they need to show up, with clarity, with vision, with strategy. So that way they can go ahead and be in business 5 years from now, 10 years from now. If they want to sell their practice, they are in the best position possible to sell their practice, right? They are not working in hot messes every day trying to make money, and they're tired and they're wanting to throw in the towel. That is why I do what I do. And this is why I want to make sure that when I talk, then I am talking from a place of what is my lane, and I'm not just jumping on a trend. AI is changing the way that we think. AI is changing how we work with each other. AI is changing how we view healthcare, care. And so from a patient perspective, like there's commercials now about ChatGPT. And so just get ready, get ready. So if you are not thinking about ChatGPT, I think everyone is very quick, especially as business owners, entrepreneurs, we're thinking about like, oh, well, what's the business strategy? How can I make sure that I'm set up when it comes to AI and what's the play? What's the play? But you also need to make sure that you're thinking about what's AI and how's that going to impact my patient? Like what's going to be now the new thought process for my patient when they're now going into ChatGPT trying to figure out diagnose me, and then ChatGPT is never giving them all the information that they got, right? So it's like going back to the days of like, well, WebMD, when that became, or even just Google, people Google things all the time. So with AI, it's changing how we do business. It's also changing how your patients are interacting with you. So you need to be prepared for that. The other part of this is, where does your team fit into this, right? So they're sitting there scared. How do you lead through transition? How do you lead through disruption? And that is that's where I'm coming from. So I want to make sure that if you're hearing the sound of my voice, that you're prepared for that. So the agenda was so good, so good. So we went through strategic planning, because at this point in time, if you are not, you need to get ready for 2026. So if you're sitting there just going through the day to day, you're stuck with patients or clients, you had a team, you have not provided any clarity, you don't know where the vision is, you don't know where you're going to be at this time next year, and you haven't pulled them aside, especially if you have a leadership team, to talk through these things. Hello, this is your time to go ahead and make sure that you are talking to them and that you are giving them the clarity. So we went through strategic planning, and they learned a very specific process, which I love, just to make sure that they are able to empower their teams. They're getting clarity for themselves. They're stepping into something bigger. And for them, we did it where it was like a 2-hour session, and it was a working session. So they learned a skill, they implemented the skill. They learned a skill, they implemented a skill. And so with every speaker, that was what we talked about. I did meetings with all of them and made sure that they learn a skill, they implement a skill. They learn a skill, they implement a skill. And it wasn't just like a fire hose of information, because a lot of times you go to either, whether if it's a summit, a conference, a retreat, they're speakers, and they give you all of this information all the time. And you walk away with all these notes. And a lot of times you miss the implementation of it, right? Or you don't know, or maybe you come back with a couple of points and that's it. I wanted for our clients to understand that this is a process that you can implement inside of your practice. This is how you do it and what's already coming up for you. So we went through strategic planning. By the end of that session, they ended up with what they knew were their strengths, their weaknesses. They went through like SWOT analysis, all the things. And so they were able to take that methodology back to their team. So we had an amazing speaker. Her name is Nikisha. And she works for, I can't say the name, but she works for a big global healthcare company. And what they learned is the process that they use to get ready for 2026. And because everybody is going through getting ready for 2026, we're in Q4. Yes, you want to end the year strong. Absolutely. So the role of a CEO is you are present. So you're looking at what do we need to do to make sure that we end this year strong, so that way I can hit the yearly goals. And you also need to be in, okay, when we're focusing on these goals, but also what are going to be the focuses for next year. So that's where you're always at. You're in present mode to make sure that performance is still on point. Then you're also in future mode, trying to make sure that everybody knows like this is where we're going. And this is why today is so important. So they walked through that process. It was a really great process, a really great presentation. I was super excited. And then the second thing that they went through was a presentation and skill learning for change management, which was a breath of fresh air for them, because a lot of times your teams will throw you some loop-de-doops, right? And if you are listening to this and you have leadership or you have teams and you're leading them and you don't get thrown for some loops, then you're not leading. You must be hiding, because every team, I've hired hundreds of people, have had big teams. And every single person, whether they're coordinators, managers, directors, it does not matter. Just normal team members, contractors, W-2 employees, it does not matter. They're going to throw you for like, oh, dang, I didn't think about that. Oh, dang. Well, how am I going to do this? Oh, dang. Shoot. What am I going to do? And they all have their emotions, especially with healthcare is changing. So I wanted to make sure that our clients are prepared. How do you have these conversations? And we work with experts in their field, but you are still in your own emotions and you are still a person, and you might know like, oh, I can tell that this is this, or I've seen this. I know I can navigate it, but you're in your own feelings. You feel a certain kind of way, and so I wanted to make sure that they had frameworks and methodologies and, again, things that they could reference. So that way, as they're working with their teams, they're navigating this change, they're communicating, then they're prepared for it. So there was something freeing, because a lot of times when you're working with teams, you have to repeat things, which is normal. Sometimes the repeating can get frustrating. Now, there is repeating where this is like, I could say this 50 million times and you're still not going to get it. And then there is like a certain amount of times that you have to say something. So one of the key takeaways, I think, for me, and what I've heard our clients say at this point in time multiple times, is that you have to communicate something to your team 7 times before they get it. 7, which is freeing. That might be freeing to you, because if you're like, man, I've said this 5 times, you might need to say it 2 more before they get it. And it's those little things, that little nugget of information, which is so powerful, because it just allows for you to show up different inside of your practice. It allows for you to show up different with how you lead. It allows for you to show up different with what you got going on, compared to, oh, my team's never going to get it. No, okay, I might just need to say it a couple more times. That's okay. So that was the goal. I mean, there was so much to this, like to these presentations. And after they listened, we split it up. They were able to go off and enjoy the island and enjoy the beautiful resort that we were on. So it was amazing to watch them learn. We have an amazing community, and just to see them be able to bond, to support each other, to go deeper. We did implementation. So we had like an implementation session. So that way, after what they learned, if they wanted to stay after, they could do that. If not, then they could go back to their hotel. They could go work by the beach. There were two clients of ours. They're co-founders. Oh, it was such a vibe. They talked about, they were doing brainstorming in the ocean, in the water, and water's healing. And they came up with the best strategy. And they're like, yeah, we were just in the ocean, not at our desk, not in the practice, not online, like in the ocean. And that was the point. And so it was so beautiful. It was so beautiful. So a couple of things of taking away from this is, get out of your office, set yourself up. A lot of times, great ideas, brainstormings, they don't happen at your desk. More times than not, they happen in your car or in the shower or away or in the ocean, at the pool. And it's by design. It is by design. And so just making sure that you're paying attention to what are you surrounding yourself. So even going into Q4, which we're going to do an episode on Q4 planning. So be prepared for that. But with this, it's making sure that you are thinking about things and giving yourself time to think about things, and not just being in the hustle mode day after day after day, because you'll burn out. You will burn out. So it was really fun just to watch them let go, and to be able to rest, and to be rejuvenated, and to be in the pool and all the things. We also had 2 of our private practice CEOs who are doing amazing work. And they also were able to teach too. So it's a mastermind. And so one of the amazing things about mastermind is that you are masterminding together in order to go further, right? And so one of our clients, she has an amazing team culture. She does amazing work. And I've worked with her and her team just sings her praises all the time. And so what she did was she walked through her team meeting agenda. And so our clients have since then implemented it, and that has made changes for them and how their team is able to show up. And so that's the magic. Like, if you don't have a community, like a tight knit community, because I know that there are, especially if you're a practitioner, clinician, physician, it does not matter. There are huge communities that I'm sure you're part of. You're probably part of associations, and I know even some of the memberships that I see, 10,000 plus. But sometimes you just become a number. And so what I love about Private Practice CEO is this an intimate experience. Not everyone can really say that they're a private practice CEO. Like it is, for me, it's sacred. And, there's a reason why we have an application process. There's a reason why we don't allow, honestly, we're picky. And because of that, then it's the community is a community that has formed their bonds, there's group chats, their sharing of resources for people who have been able to come to our retreats that are not officially part of Private Practice CEO. They have been able to connect with our other clients. And so it's just a really amazing community. And there was just so many great things that happened, and just to watch the bonds continue to form. The other part of it is the food. Oh, goodness gracious. Let me tell you, we had open bar. We had full meals, snacks on top of snacks. One of our clients, she loves snacks. If she's listening to this, she knows exactly who she is. She loves snacks, and we wanted to make sure the snacks were on point. There was good nourishment, good drinks, it was just so good. We had cabanas. It was just an amazing, amazing experience. So I think the point of this episode is, again, so I can wrap it up, step into the vision. The way that God showed up, I opened up with a story. When I first got into wanting to have something of my own, when God first gave me that download, I wanted to host a leadership training, and it was supposed to be in 2018. And it was me and two of my sister cousins who were like, yes, let's do it. We're all in healthcare. We all have our own businesses at this point in time. We've all been in leadership. So we wanted to do a leadership training. So naturally, we're like, oh, yes, let's do it. We did not know what we were doing. At the time, I didn't have all the expertise that I have now. And I learned some things, but it was interesting because it never came to be, because we got to the fact of where we had to market, and we did not market the way that we needed to market, because that's what you do. You work on all the things behind the scenes, which is exactly what we did. We worked on all the behind the scenes stuff, and we forgot to even tell people about this amazing leadership training. So from that, though, I was inspired, and I was like, okay, I want to do this. So now that we're doing these big retreats, I host leadership trainings all the time, business trainings all the time. And so when we were sitting there in the Kimpton after we checked into the hotel, my sister cousin who was there, we were talking through, like, you remember when we did this? And I was like, oh, yes. And it ended up being at the Kimpton. It was supposed to be at the Kimpton, downtown Charlotte. Well, God had a bigger plan. God was like, oh, yes, you're going to host a leadership training, but it's not going to be a leadership training. It's going to actually be a whole full-blown retreat. And it's going to be with healthcare private practice owners, because I've been giving you all these healthcare business skills, leadership skills. And on top of it, you're going to be in international. You're going to be in Grand Cayman. And it's going to be at the Kimpton there, which is way better than the Kimpton that we have downtown Charlotte. So the first point is, if there is a vision, just know whatever you're envisioning is going to be better than what it was. Like that, I got goosebumps even talking about it, the way that God came through. He came through and he showed off. The second thing is what I said. Make sure you're paying attention to the contract. Pay attention to the details of things. Don't just sign your life away. And then the third thing is be prepared for the change. Be prepared for the change. Healthcare is changing. I cannot say that enough. Healthcare is changing. We are getting ready for 2026. You need to be prepared for 2026 to have margins. If your practice ain't profitable, you need to work on that. If your team is a hot mess, you need to work on that. If you are scared of AI, you need to work on that. It is changing. It is changing. If you are taking all insurance, be prepared, because deductible season is coming and people are going through open enrollment right now and picking their plans. And deductibles are going to be crazy. So even for my family, looking at some of these deductibles, I was like, oh, wow. Yeah. Like when high deductible plans first came out, what was it? $5,000. And we're like, oh my gosh, you got to pay the first. Yeah, no, get ready. Get ready. So if you don't have good processes and systems in place, especially if you take insurance, and then even for the folks who are like, oh, I'm cash pay, you get ready because the economy is changing. So people are being laid off and all the things. So make sure that you're tight on who can pay cash and that you're listening to your people and you're listening to your patients. And I'm also going to tell you, make sure if you are not business savvy right now, or you're just resting on your laurels, or you think that, hey, I just hired this person and they're going to save me. No, 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 no. Unless if you can truly afford to hire somebody who has a higher level of expertise. I get job offers all the time. I get CEO offers, I get COO offers, I get VP offers. And the amount of money that they're willing to pay me, I know based on where, even if you're a multi-million, to be able to absorb a multiple six-figure salary for somebody who has the expertise that can come in and just give you business strategy, business growth, be able to just put your practice in a position to just do extremely well. They probably don't have that expertise. That's somebody that you got to mature and that you got to train up to be able to really fully step into that, right? And so that's one of the reasons why too right now, what I'm doing specifically only with the clients that I work with is I'm now traveling to their teams. So next week, I will be in LA, I'll be in Austin, I'll be in New York. And so, well, at the time of this training, at the time of this recording. And a lot of that has to do with me traveling for teamwork. So I'm working with our clients and their teams to make sure, again, that they're prepared, that they're ready, that they're all on the same page, that they're communicating. So I work with both. Like I think I'm probably maybe one of the only ones. I think there's one other person she's really good too, but you need team support. So like one of our clients said it best. She's poured a lot into herself. She's invested a lot in herself, and her growth has been exponential. She's now putting herself in a position where now she's got to get her leadership team caught up to where she's at. So you do that through coaching and mentoring. So what you're learning, you need to pass that on to your team, but also you need to make sure that they're being up leveled too. So I'm happy. I feel very blessed to be able to do both. That's where we're at. That is where we're at. So if you're not prepared, please go ahead and see the show notes, because Private Practice CEO is waiting for you. Go ahead and apply. And at this point in time, we are doing Own Your CO Status masterclasses. So that's something that we're starting in November, and we'll be carrying that into the new year. And so those are the two ways at this point in time that you will be able to work with me. If you want to come to this masterclass, which is 60 minutes, you can do that. And I'll walk you through frameworks and things like that. Or you can actually get the deep work where, we have clients, like one of the conversations with our client in Grand Cayman was that her husband commented, because when she signed up for Private Practice CEO, he was like, how much is it? And he was sitting there with her on the beach talking about that was the best investment that you've made, because his life has changed. Her life has changed. And that is why I do this work. So there is a solid return on investment. You will get back more time. You will be business savvy. You will be an empowered leader. You will get out of the weeds of your practice. You will make more money. You will be more profitable, and you'll have clarity, to be able to navigate things. I've seen a lot. I've experienced a lot. I'm not new to this. And I'm good at what I do. I'm very good at what I do. So if you are sitting there struggling, then please go ahead and just apply. If it's not a good fit for you, I will tell you, I'm very honest. Like I said, we have an intimate community, and there's sometimes where I'm like, nope, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We have somebody who comes to the retreat, and I won't let her officially in Private Practice CEO because she's not ready yet. So I'm not going to let you do something that's not going to be good. I'm not in the place. This is something that God has given me and something that I take very seriously. And I am not going to put anybody in a position where it's just all about me and the money. That's not the coach that I am. That's not the mentor that I am. That's not the consultant that I am. I am very honest. So if you apply, I'll talk to you. I'll even give you some nuggets of information. I want to make sure that you do well. And if it's not a good fit, I will let you know. If it is a good fit, then I want to tell you, because I know a few of you are probably listening to this who have applied. Go ahead and just come on in. Or if you're thinking about applying, just go ahead and apply. Come on in. Come on in. I got you. I got you. So that is this week's episode. So I hope that this was helpful. I kind of went free. I had some notes. I did not go with them. I just kind of let things flow. And I hope that you have an amazing day, an amazing week, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Thanks for listening today. I hope you enjoyed the episode and it empowers you as the CEO of your practice. If you enjoyed the podcast, please make sure you subscribe, share the message, and leave a review. If you want more information and support in growing and scaling your practice, click the link in the show notes to take advantage of our free resources or apply to work with me directly. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.